Hello, everyone. I see some more people joining us, so we will get started in just a second. All right, we only have 15 minutes, so I will kick us off. Um, to any new attendees joining us today, welcome. To those who are seasoned veterans of our audience webinars, welcome back. I just wanted to start by introducing myself. My name is Peyton King, and I am the Associate Director of Marketing at Sports Innovation Lab. In today's webinar, we will be breaking down some Q4 favorites, electronics, and gaming. This webinar is sadly the final session in our 4-part Radical Retail webinar series. So we keep things short and sweet and to the point and packed with data. As a reminder, this is just 15 minutes, and we're going to break down what the Sports Data Cloud is and the problems it solves, what the data tells us about the most valuable audiences for electronics and gaming, and how to get started using audiences to power your Black Friday and holiday campaigns. Before we dive in, I wanted to mention that we launched our Radical Retail webinar series, as well as a set of retail-focused programmatic audiences to help people better understand consumer behavior in relation to some of the major spending categories for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the holidays. Because when you better understand the breadth of consumer behavior in relation to these categories, you can better identify the right audiences and create successful campaigns. So if you haven't been lucky enough to join us for our previous 3 Radical Retail webinars, we covered sports, athleisure, goods and gear, fashion and beauty, and toys, crafts, and collectibles. I know those of you who missed out on those sessions are probably very heartbroken, but don't worry, there's still hope, and you can catch these juicy data and insights by streaming the sessions on Sports Innovation Lab's YouTube account. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, where we will be releasing highlight clips and content from all of these Radical Retail webinar sessions in the coming weeks leading up to Black Friday. And we will also shortly be unveiling our next webinar series theme. So be sure to follow us on social media and sign up for those when the registration goes live. Most of you are familiar with Sports Innovation Lab, but as a reminder, we are known as experts in the industry on the evolution of modern fandom. Several years ago, we coined the term fluid fan. Fluid fans are much more complex than the fans of the past because technology is much more complex, multi-channeled and dispersed. This makes fluid fans extremely hard to reach using traditional data sources that don't carry a domain expertise in sports and entertainment. So the main problem we're left with is that existing audiences are not giving you the full picture of a fan. And I'll give you an example of this in action. I used to be a media planner for Outback Steakhouse, so I know what is currently on the market in terms of audiences, and it's pretty unimpressive. This picture represents what you're buying today. It's cheap and effective-ish, but very limited. And this is because it's probabilistic and likely survey or cookie-based, and there's little opportunity for customization and a much higher margin of error. But Sports Innovation Lab's Sports Data Cloud is solving this all too frequent problem. And we're doing this by building the premier sports data cloud and using it to help teams, leagues, brands, and agencies understand fluid fans, as well as their modern consumers, better. Our data cloud has every person in the United States over the age of 18, and we have addressable information on both individual and household levels. On top of that, we have 60% of these same people's passively collected and privacy compliant transactional data, which allows us to see everything they buy on an individual level and really understand who they are holistically as a fan. So instead of something like this, you get a complete picture of a real fan. But where it gets really interesting is how we have customized our data set. Our data cloud is the only data cloud in the market that is built with domain expertise in sports, retail, media, and entertainment. So it offers a different, richer, and more holistic view of the consumer. We have over 2,500 unique sports and entertainment merchants that no other provider has tagged, and customized AI technology that is trained to analyze thousands of our unique fluid fan communities. So let's get into audiences. As I mentioned, we can see what fans buy and when they buy it. So this allows us to create really, really compelling audiences for seasonal shopping because we can isolate people that have historically and repeatedly purchased at large quantities for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the holidays. And we have currently put multiple audiences live for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and the holidays, and they can be found on our website and even customized to be specific to your brand's needs. Hallie will drop the link to those audiences in the chat, but you can also find them on our LinkedIn page as well. So let's dive into today's data drop on electronics and gaming. For electronics, we have all of the major retailers and brands like Apple, Sonos, Best Buy, Batteries Plus, and more. Within gaming, we have retailers, subscriptions, consoles, virtual reality platforms, publishers, and more. We have over 100 unique merchants across the categories of electronics and gaming. So upon diving into the data, it became very clear very quickly that sports fans are some of the best people to go after if you're selling electronics. They're sports betting, gaming, and tuning in on countless devices to stream big games. However, not all sports communities are created equal. We'll start by breaking down which communities are smarter targets for electronics. If you're trying to sell electronics or to the electronics or gaming audience, you're probably settling for people following certain accounts, cookie-based profiles, or gaming and electronics keywords or targeting filters. And this can get expensive because it's super competitive during the holiday season. But there is another way in by knowing the full picture of who consumers for electronics and gaming are on a deeper level. What do they like to do? What do they buy? And what other communities are they engaged in? So let's start off with which sports fans are shopping for electronics. We did 2 polls when diving into this question. One of the polls was the entire electronics community, and one isolated high-value electronics purchasers, which consist of the top 25% of spenders in this category. These numbers do not lie. When looking at the entire electronics community, cycling is a leading community, with cyclists being 2 times more likely to purchase electronics than the average person. And this is closely followed by international sports fans, skiers, and tennis players, which sit around 1.5 times more likely to spend on electronics than the average person. Additional communities that popped include NWSL fans, fans of women's sports, marathoners, soccer fans, and yogis. When we slice the data to isolate the highest value electronic spenders in that top 25%, we found similar findings, but the likelihood of these people purchasing electronics shot up to crazy high rates. We found that a few new communities popped within this segment, including lacrosse and flag football. So if you are a luxury electronics company looking for big spenders to go after, these could be extremely high value communities to target. As you can see, cycling almost 4 times more likely to be purchasing electronics. Now let's dive into Sonos. Sports fans love to listen to their big games. So when we looked at the data, we found that 47% of general sports fans spent with Sonos, and they are 70% more likely to buy this sound brand. 60% of our sports streamer community who are actively spending on OTT platforms specific to sport have spent with Sonos, and they are 30% more likely to buy than the general population. Now we're going to dive into sports fans' top 5 electronic brands. Number 1 is Apple, followed by HP, Samsung, Sonos, and Bose. And then when we looked at this top retailer for electronics fans, we found that Best Buy, 20% of sports fans were shopping at Best Buy, followed by the Apple Store. Now we're going to look at a subset of the electronics community that we dived into as well, the gaming community. We're going to dive into the personas and the other behaviors and affinities that these gamers have. So who are gamers? It turns out they don't just sit in their basement gaming all the time, but they're actually concert and festival goers attending live events. And when they do attend these live events, they make 20% more purchases than the average consumer. And they're not just concert goers, they're also youth sports parents. My cousins in Minnesota were just at a hockey tournament and telling me all about how VR was the thing for the kids to do at the hotel. Youth sports parents are always on the lookout for the latest gadgets to keep their kids entertained. And they're more than 50% more likely to spend on virtual reality brands like Meta Quest than the general population. Gamers are also big sports bettors and gamblers. Gamers are 28% more likely to gamble online and 21% more likely to sports bet on platforms like DraftKings, FanDuel, and Prize Picks than the general population. So if you're running gaming campaigns this holiday season, we strongly recommend you check out our sports betting audiences as a way to reach them more effectively. The data also showed that gamers love food delivery apps. Maybe they don't want to leave the comfort of their screens, or they're kicking back after a hard day's work with gaming and some good delivery. Over 50% of the gaming community was actively using delivery apps and ordering food online. And in 2023, gamers spent an average of $891 per fan on food delivery services like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Grubhub. Another thing we found is that gamers love the game of swiping. Gamers were 15% more likely to spend on dating apps than the general population. In 2023, gamers spent an average of $190 per fan per year on dating platforms such as Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder. And finally, gamers also love scooters. Maybe they're taking the scooters home from their concerts and festivals, but whatever they're doing, they're 13% more likely to use microtransit and e-scooter platforms than the general population. In 2023, they spent over $60 per fan per year on microtransit e-scooter platforms such as Lime, Bird, and Lyft Scooter. And as a reminder, you can tap into all of these communities through Sports Innovation Lab and Retail Innovation Lab audiences, and they can be served anywhere on any of the major DSPs to display, social, CTV, video, any way you are trying to meet your consumer, we can use our audiences to do so more effectively. And the results are very compelling, 40% more engagement. We can decrease CPA by more than 200% and lift your ROAS more than 3 times. If you want to go find some of these audiences that we talked about today, like I said, Hallie dropped the link to our blog post where we break down all of the audiences specific to each webinar in the chat. Some of them are listed here, but you can also search Sports Innovation Lab and Retail Innovation Lab on your favorite DSPs. And as a reminder, we can customize your audiences for even greater lift. We can do by brand or category purchasers, by spend level or spend frequency, or community to tap into. And as a reminder, you can always reach out to audiences at sportsilab.com to get in contact with our audience desk about any of the things we talked about today, or building a custom audience that will tap into the specific needs for your brand or agency client. Thank you so much for spending these 15 minutes with us. Hallie is going to deploy a survey for you all to fill out. And we will, if for all of our brand and agency friends, we will send you a $5 Starbucks gift card as a thank you for joining us today. Give you a few more seconds to do that, and then you guys can all get back to your day. Awesome. Thank you guys again so much, and please reach out with any questions. Have a good one.